Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a subject that can honestly strike fear into the hearts of even the most dedicated language learners. But hey, I promise you, by the time we're done here, it's going to feel like second nature. We're diving into a brilliant masterclass from Ganesh Prasad Tamalsina, all about English conditional sentences. So if you've ever felt completely tripped up by all those ifs, woulds, and have-beens floating around in English grammar, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to totally demystify this intimidating topic, breaking it down so it's logical, practical, and actually makes sense. Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. 1. Anatomy of a conditional. 2. 0. The general truths. 3. First, real future possibilities. 4. Second, imaginary and unreal. 5. Third, past unreal and regret. And 6. The ultimate summary table. Section 1. Anatomy of a conditional, the basic building blocks. Right, so before we get into the actual rules of the reality spectrum, we really need to understand the foundational anatomy here. A conditional sentence is simply used to express conditions and their results. That's literally it. At its core, every single conditional sentence is just a giant cause and effect relationship. If this one thing happens, well, then this other thing results. It's basically a grammatical domino effect. Think of it like two halves of a sentence, just shaking hands. On the left side, you've got your if clause. That's the condition. It sets the stage. Then, on the right side, you've got the main clause, which is the result or exactly what happens because of that initial condition. Every single conditional we look at today is going to feature this exact same handshake between a condition and a result.
Section 2. 0 conditional. General truths.
So, we are starting our journey at the absolute top of the reality spectrum with the 0 conditional. This one deals entirely with absolute reality. The formula kind of looks like a math equation, doesn't it? If plus present simple, present simple. Notice how that present simple tense is used on both sides of the equation. Both the condition and the result are grounded entirely 100% in the present tense. The really crucial part is knowing when to use this formula. You pull out the 0 conditional for facts that are always true. We're talking hard scientific facts or undeniable general truths. There is absolutely zero doubt when you use the 0 conditional. If that first condition is met, the result is a guaranteed locked-in certainty. Check this out. If you heat water, it boils. That perfectly anchors the rule right into a real-world scientific fact. Notice there's no might boil or could boil. Under normal conditions, if you apply heat to water, boiling is the absolute guaranteed result. Another great example from Ganesh Prasad Tamalsina is if the sun rises, it gets light. Undeniable reality. And that is the power of the 0 conditional. Section 3. First conditional. Real future possibility. Okay, let's step one notch down the reality spectrum. We're moving from absolute, undeniable facts into real future possibilities. Notice how the structure shifts just a little bit here. The if clause stays grounded in reality with the present simple, but on the result side, we swap in the word will, followed by a base verb. By throwing will in there, we're suddenly projecting the result out into the future. You're going to use this structure when you're talking about real and highly possible situations in the future. We're not really in science class anymore. This is everyday life. This is your go-to grammar for planning your day, making predictions, or setting actual goals that can absolutely happen. To bring this to life, here's an incredibly relatable example from Ganesh Prasad Tamalsina. If it rains, I will stay at home. Right? It's a very real possibility that it might rain today. And if that condition is met right now in the present, the logical, planned effect in the future is that I'm staying home. Or think about studying. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. It's a very real possibility that leads to a highly probable future result. Section 4. Second conditional. Unreal or imaginary present or future. Now let's see how this builds, because we are officially stepping completely out of reality and entering the realm of the imaginary. What's really interesting here is the grammatical irony. Check out the structure: if plus past simple, would plus base verb. We're stepping back into the past tense for our condition, but ironically, we're doing it to talk about an imaginary situation in the present or the future. This right here, this is the grammar of daydreamers. You use the second conditional for situations that are highly unlikely, purely hypothetical, or just totally fabricated imaginary scenarios. You aren't talking about something that's actually likely to happen, you're just dreaming about what if. Real quick, I want to highlight a crucial pro tip from the source material because this is a super common trap. When you're using the second conditional in formal English, always use if I were instead of if I was. So you'd say if I were rich instead of if I was rich. It just immediately signals to the listener that you're speaking in the hypothetical. And this is just how beautifully imaginary this second conditional can get. If I had wings, I would fly. Obviously, I don't have wings. It is physically impossible for me to just sprout wings. It's a completely unreal condition. But if I did, in my imagination, I would fly. That's the second conditional in a nutshell. Section 5. Third conditional, past unreal and regret. All right, we've reached our final stop on the spectrum. This is where we look backward at the past unreal and, honestly, where we find expressions of regret. Now, I know this formula looks like the longest and most intimidating one we've covered. If plus had plus past participle would have plus past participle. But seriously, don't let it scare you. It is just a predictable, logical expansion of the rules we've already been building. We're literally just shifting everything back one further step into the past. We use this bulky grammar structure for those classic woulda, coulda, shoulda moments. You use the third conditional to talk about past situations that categorically did not happen, and specifically to express regret over things that are now permanently unchangeable. If I had studied, I would have passed. You can almost hear the wistful tone in that, right? The regret is heavy in that sentence. The reality is, the person didn't study in the past, and as a result, they didn't pass. The third conditional basically lets us construct an alternate history in our minds so we can express how things could have been different even though we know we can never go back and actually change it. Section 6. The ultimate summary table. A quick review.
And just like that, we made it across the entire spectrum. To bring this all together, I highly encourage you to take a mental snapshot or literally screenshot this summary table right now. It brilliantly maps out everything we just covered thanks to Ganesh Prasad Timilsana's incredibly clear structure. Look at the zero conditional at the top. Present tense for absolute general truths. Then the first conditional, present plus will for real future planning. The second conditional, past tense plus would for those present or future imaginary daydreams. And finally, the third conditional, all those hads and would haves for past regret. It's all right there, and it makes perfect logical sense.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Deploying the exact grammar we just learned right back at you. Think about this. If you hadn't watched this explainer, would you have mastered conditionals? That is a textbook third conditional, looking back at a past that has now successfully been changed by your learning today. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. Keep practicing those clauses, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.